Hello. Lots of people in their projects want to have something happen on a timer. So an event happens and something will change for a certain amount of time and then go back to the way it was before. So here's sort of a simple demo that shows you how you could use an integer that you're using to count how many times the draw loop has happened to change the action of something. So here I click and it goes red, and then 50 time steps later it goes back to green. So let's talk through this code. You probably won't want something exactly like this. You'll probably want to take this idea and use it in a different way in your own project. So come back in the next video to for the next step in that thinking. But for the moment, here we are. So let's talk about the basic aspects of this. So as you can see, I've got a red and a green. Here I'm generating the color red and the color green, and I'm saving those into these variables. And then I have this integer c, which is being used down here in the fill command, which controls what color is this ellipse going to be. So none of that's about the timer. I'm just showing you kind of how does the display code work. All right, so the timer starts at 0. And I'm saying if the timer is bigger than 0, then we should subtract from the timer. If the timer equals 0, then we'll set the color to green. So at the very beginning, when we haven't set the timer yet, we're just always resetting the color to green, and we're filling the ellipse with green. As soon as I click the mouse, this code runs automatically, because that's built into processing. And when I release the mouse, I set the timer to 50, and then I set my C variable to be red. So that happens once when I click the mouse. You'll notice that an important part of this is I'm not actually trying to use the fill command here. I'm not trying to draw the ellipse here. What you're going to do is you're going to set a variable that's then used somewhere else in an if statement to control what you want. So here I'm setting the timer, but I'm also setting my color variable. But no actual actions happen here. Instead, I'm just saving some information into a variable, and then later on, that variable is used to control what I want it to control. All right, so I click the button, timer sets to 50. Remember, the draw loop is still running over and over again. So now, since timer is bigger than 0, I subtract 1 from the timer. And I fill with the color C, which is now red. And then draw loop happens again. And so timer is still bigger than 0, so I subtract from the timer, so I'm counting down. And eventually the timer will reach 0. And when it does, I'll set the C color back to green. And so now I'm filling with green again. So that's why red only lasts a certain amount of time. So that's the kind of idea that you can use. What makes this awkward is you'll notice that even though this was a relatively simple thing, I've really cluttered up my draw code. So that is sort of hard to look at and kind of difficult to work with. Another problem is what happens if you want lots of different actions to be controlled by a timer. Like, you don't really want to make a whole bunch of different timer variables, because that's going to make your code kind of cluttered and unreadable. So come back next time to see sort of a slightly better idea for how to do this using objects.